Hello, and welcome back to Better Than Fiction with Eden and Jeanette. Let's do a quick update before we pull our numbers and our prompts. My TBR book was Mexican Gothic for January, and I did finish it. Yay. And I really enjoyed it. It was kind of a step away from my typical romancy reads, and it was a really nice step away.
And if you don't know what Mexican Gothic is, it is that foray back into Gothic literature, which is really starting to make a comeback, and it is creepy cool.
Yes, yeah. I highly recommend it if you haven't tried Gothic. I felt like that was a good first step.
I think so too. It's a really good first, and I couldn't believe when I just ordered books how many more are starting to come out. So I'm really excited. I kind of cut my teeth on Gothic literature or Gothic romance with my mom's books, and when I got to read some of the stacks, like the Philippa Carr. So if you remember that author, it's a foray back into that.
Sweet.
Creepier though, in my opinion.
And then my nonfiction read for last month was a book called Greek Myths, a New Retelling by Charlotte Higgins. And that was a retelling of kind of your female staples in your Greek mythology through the art of textiles, weaving.
That's interesting.
Through weaving. So that was a different take on it, and it was interesting. It was slow going, though. It took me quite a while to kind of get into it, but it was good once I got the cadence of the book down.
And if you need a really good foray into mythology, Eden's your librarian to kind of get you going. She had recommended a few, and I actually took a big leap into one of the short lists last year that dealt with the women of Troy and the women behind both sides of that war. And now I've been reading everything by that particular author. So Eden's our mythology person here at the library.
Yeah. And I read 8 books last month, so I'm trucking along on my 23 books for 2023. And I did read my young adult fiction, which was our book prompt last month. And then I've crossed off 2 bingos here. I did read a young adult fiction book. It's separate from the prompt. Same series, but they're different books. And then I did read a graphic novel this month. So I got to cross that off. That's my update.
Yay. I finished all of mine on the last minute on the 31st, finishing up that evening. I had to finish up my number, which was, of course, number 6. And I was finishing up The Memory of Animals by Claire Fuller. I was interested in it because it was almost too real. It dealt with a pandemic and a virus and vaccines. And it was more of a characterization versus a story that really had a beginning and an end. So it was interesting, but it was an odd read. But did get it finished. I read 3 off my bingo challenge. I read a young adult, which again was separate from our reading prompt. I read a juvenile fiction book, which was just awesome. And what made me feel even better is that we were already able to recommend it to some of our intermediate kids, and they loved it as much as I did. So we were all waiting for the second book in that grouping to come out. What made it unique is that it was a book about a girl with autism, and she actually was one of the co-writers of that particular book. So it made it unique. I also finished a book about a book with a country name in the title, All the Horses of Iceland. If you are into saga writing in that style, it was how horses actually came to Iceland originally in that very much old-fashioned storytelling saga style. So it was very fun. From the prompt, my YA book was a YA horror called Parachute, which was pretty creepy, very short and creepy. My nonfiction challenge, I read The League of Wives, the untold story of the women who took on the U.S. government to bring their husbands home. It dealt with the prisoners of war and the the gentlemen soldiers missing in action in Vietnam. I really learned a lot about those women, the behind the scenes of what happened with the Vietnam War with people here at home. And it reminds all of us that it hasn't been all that long since women could have their own checkbooks, could buy a house. And it just made me, I take it for granted. And that book reminded me that we haven't had that privilege for very long.
Interesting.
Yeah. And what was nice is I have been keeping up my reading journals.
Oh, I have not.
So I've been very, very diligent. I hope that some of you have as well. Just kind of putting down some thoughts. So I have been keeping that up.
I use a spreadsheet instead of the book. I'm planning on using my journal for my book club books, and then I just use my spreadsheet for my fun reading, I guess.
And I'm lazier on
that
the
one.
spreadsheet.
We're opposites there.
We are. So exciting for what's coming up and what we are already reading.
Yeah. Currently, I'm reading Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I don't think it crosses off anything off my list. I just really wanted to read it. So
beautiful
that's
cover on
it's
this
gorgeous, book. Yes. Set in Scandinavia, which I don't read a whole lot of Scandinavian.
No, it doesn't have the name in the title.
But it's been enjoyable so far. And then for my nonfiction this month, I'm going to dip my toe into some poetry, and I've selected Margaret Atwood's new poems, Dearly. So, dipping my toe in that finally.
I am currently reading Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. And no, I don't think this crosses off anything off my TBR list. It's again a book that I really wanted to read. I like Sarah Addison Allen. She writes just a comfortable read, but adds a little bit of mysticism in there, which I just like.
Yeah.
And she's just really unique. I love the cover and these little tiny, tiny blue birds called Delawisp play a huge role. And again, it's that aura of mysticism. So I'm kind of excited about that. The other book I have picked up is called This Other Eden. Nothing to do with Eden. But it is a historical fiction book that deals with an interracial couple in an area that's very, very isolated. So it's a brand new book, and the actual print copy is sitting on the shelf. We just put it out 2 days ago, so it is available. Of my nonfiction, I'm heading toward the 300s, and I'll be reading Hot Dogs and Hamburgers, and it's Unlocking Life's Potential by Inspiring Literature at Any Age. So it's a little bit of a professional read, but it's also one that, what can I do to keep, improving myself through what I read?
Next, we kind of wanted to talk about some book lingo to say. DNFing a book stands for did not finish. For whatever reason, you could not be into it at that moment in time. It just isn't what you are feeling in the moment, or
you just really don't like
it, or you got so busy that you just needed to put that one down and grab something short to just get through something, kind of thing. So it's not a bad thing to not finish a book.
There are so many published every month. We really want everyone to enjoy what they read and to find the right book for the right time for you.
Yep.
So DNFing, did not finish, is not a bad thing. But also, one thing that's interesting is write down why you didn't finish it. Some books you don't finish because it is too long for the moment. I find that I read more heavier nonfiction in the winter versus what I read in the summer. So if I start something heavy, it takes me longer, or I just stop and may or may not pick it up later.
Yep. Yeah, never a bad thing.
So far, in January, neither one of us have DNF'd a book yet.
We're doing good.
We're doing good. We got through 4 whole weeks without stopping on what we were reading.
All right. So now we'll do our TBR Tuesday of pulling the number and prompt.
Okay, first our number.
That's the number one.
That's the number one.
Number 2. So let's see what
So number 2 on my list is The Girl in the Zoo.
and mine is Poppy War.
Okay.
We're good, yeah.
We are good to go. I know mine's an ebook, and I just wrote down that the author's last name was Lager, so I did not write down the author's first name.
Mine, I got this book for Christmas, so, and the author is R.F. Kuang, I believe is how I pronounce that.
Okay, and here is our reading prompt.
Dig in for that one. First book in a series.
Oh,
Yeah, my Poppy War is the first book of the
But you
series, but I
can't do
can't
two.
do double, so I have to find another one.
oh no, what that means is we could get hooked on multiple series.
Yep.
And as we all know, that makes that TBR list longer instead of shorter.
Yep.
So we wish you luck. We wish ourselves luck.
Yep, yep.
If you need help finding a really awesome series, come give us a visit and we'll help you do that.
I will also be making a book prompt video on our TikTok to kind of help bring inspiration to see if there's a series that piques your interest on that. Our TikTok handle is DeWitt, COMMLIB. So follow us on that and check out those book prompt ideas there.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us and happy reading for February. It's
Yep.
a short month.
Yes, it is.